what impact does eating animal products have on everything, on the environment, on the water, on the land, on the forest, on the oceans, on ocean acidification, on coral reefs, on everything. And I was wondering if you could either read it or instead tell us the answer to the question, what impact does eating animal products have on all aspects of the food system, the environment, etc.?
Well, it is quite a fascinating article, and I hadn't read it before, so I am going to give you a summary of it, but I won't actually read it per se. So a study published in the journal Science created a data set of almost 40,000 farms in 119 countries, covering 40 food products, representing 90% of all that is eaten. It assessed the full impact of these foods from farm to fork on land use, climate change emissions, freshwater use, and water pollution, as well as air pollution. It was the largest study of this kind ever conducted, and it found that livestock provide 18% of humanity's calories and 37% of humanity's protein, but take up 83% of the world's farmlands. They found that without meat and dairy consumption, global farmland use could be reduced by 75%, an area equivalent to the US, China, European Union, and Australia combined, and still feed the world. They found that 86% of all land mammals are now livestock or humans. 86% of the land mammals on Earth are either humans or the livestock we raise. 14% are wild creatures. And they determined that, let's see, there's some other remarkable things. Beef results in 105 kilograms of greenhouse gases per 100 grams of meat, while tofu produces less than 3.5 kilograms. So tofu is about 3.5% the carbon impact of beef. And in terms of carbon impact, by the way, beef is the most extreme. Crustaceans farmed are next. Lamb and mutton is next. But yeah, all of the least carbon impactful foods are peas and pulses and nuts and tofu, and so very interesting. We're talking particularly here, I think, about protein sources. So anyway, enough on the article, I think, from there. But you get the point. The UN Food and Agriculture Organization also, looked at this some years ago, and they ended up determining that cows impact our climate more than cars do. You may be wondering why. Is it because cows leave the lights on too much at night after they go to bed? Do they turn the heat up and not turn it down? No. It's because livestock is a very inefficient way to feed humanity. It's kind of a protein factory in reverse. It takes 12 pounds of grain or soy to produce 1 pound of feedlot beef. It takes about 5 or 6 to produce chicken or pig. The others are essentially wasted. They turn into hoof, hide, bone, manure, energy the animal uses to move and breathe, and not into food for humans. So when you're taking large amounts of agricultural land and cycling it through livestock, there's a lot of waste involved. Pasture land, while potentially and theoretically more sustainable, often isn't, because a lot of it is rainforest or forest land that has been chopped down or burned so we can create grazing land. And then sometimes that pasture land also has to be irrigated in order to keep the grass green and growing so the cows have something to eat. All of that irrigation takes a lot of water, and all of that land could be doing other things like being forest or growing food for humans in many cases. There are some places where you've got grass that couldn't really grow anything else, and theoretically well-managed certain livestock could habit there, could live there. Like we had buffalo in the United States hundreds of years ago, and they were quite sustainable. So it's not that hoofed creatures are inherently bad for the planet, but livestock raising the way we are doing it is, in a massive way. And so I think one of the core points of this article is we talk a lot about how we're going to feed the world, and one of the biggest arguments for GMOs is the fallacy that it will lead to better yields. It's actually not true, but it's Monsanto, now Bayer, has gotten a lot of mileage out of that, saying, oh, do you want hungry people to starve? You know, what if this technology could help feed a hungry world? And certainly pesticides and herbicides and fungicides have been justified on those grounds, and it is true that chemical-intensive agriculture in the short run can produce higher yields per acre than organic can in the short run. But at what cost in the long run? And maybe we don't even need to maximize every possible bit of yield and mortgage our children's future and our own health in the process if we ate less meat.
Okay. I couldn't agree more. I kind of look at it simple ways. A vegan saves a swimming pool full of water each year, 1.5 million gallons. Just think about that. Try drinking that much. In terms of the energy things, somewhere between 12 and some people say even 22% more, not 20, 28 times more energy is used up. There's some variations, but it's a lot, okay, which is the point, you know. It's like, wait, we got energy, we got water, we got air pollution, and, you know, one Mac burger destroys 55 square feet of rainforest. This is not the way to do things. And when you run protein through the cow, you're losing 90%, as you say, in reverse. So, like, this is not serving us, and certainly not in the long run, which is key here. It doesn't work in the short run either, but definitely not in the long run. So if we're going to preserve the planet, and I, again, will tell you, the World Health Organization, European Nutrition Organization have all said, they didn't use the word vegan, they just said, we need to go towards a plant-based diet. So there is a kind of a consensus. It's not like that far out. That was in 2010, where, you know, the European Union and their nutritional kind of advice, you got to go towards a plant-based diet if we're going to save the planet. They don't make a big noise about it, but that's what we're talking about. So it is acknowledged in the highest circles of what, political circles, of what has to be done. We're the ones that make the difference, though. We go that way, that's the way it's going to go. So it's up to us to educate as much as possible about all these things for the survival of the species. That's probably the simple way to say it. So think about it that way. The data's there. Are people listening? We got to get people to listen to it.